hell I was doing. I just like recorded it, mixed it. The mixing engineer was like, "You're gonna master this, right?" I was like, "Sure."
Well, what's
So,
that?
of course I am. Yeah, I know what to do.
Yeah. Our podcast is all about you, man, and your journey in music and how you got to where you are now. And we'll, of course, talk about your new record, Gossip of Flames.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure, man. I did read, are you originally from Chicago?
Nearby.
Nearby? Okay.
I'm originally from 2 hours south of Chicago, a small town named Normal, Illinois, believe it or not.
Was it normal?
That's the running joke. But it's actually, yeah, it's midwestern. It's a college town, so it's fairly normal.
What was it like growing up in a college town? Were your parents professors?
No, we lived close to the university. They're both artists, and my mother did some teaching, but not at the university. But I ended up going to a high school that was kind of affiliated with the university, so that was kind of lucky. As a good school. But yeah, it's a lot of baseball, a lot of cornfields.
That's cool. Well, how did you get into music?
I started playing music. I started writing when I was very young, but not songs. And I'll never forget this one day. I was a freshman in high school. I walked into some new friends I had made, invited me over to their house. I walked in their basement, and they were playing electric guitars and had like a punk rock band. And I just looked around the room, and I thought, I want to do this. Whatever these guys are doing, like I want to do this. And I listened to music. I'd grown up listening to music, and always been writing. And then it just kind of clicked. It made sense to me that the writing was more immediate with singing and songwriting. So it kind of started in that basement. And then later in high school, I had an injury. I had a back injury, and I had to wear this brace for about a year. And during that time is where I played guitar every day. That kind of like was the beginning of a shift towards more music.
Were you said you got a back injury? Were you like a baseball player or something? You brought up baseball. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I played a lot of baseball, and I couldn't play for about a year, and couldn't run, couldn't be super athletic. So during that time, I sort of just dug in and learned how to finger pick.
Wow. Which is a skill in itself. I mean, I could poorly play guitar, but it was always like, okay, I want to learn like power chords because I know I could play anything. But finger picking is still, to me, like one of the most fascinating things when it comes to guitar playing.
Yeah, that was like just zoning out with the brace on. I'd even just watch a movie or something and hang out and just finger pick and practice. But it was, a lot of front porch time as well.
Sure. You said your parents were artists. Are they musicians?
No, my father is a sculptor and painter, and my mother made jewelry and clothing and all kinds of things. So I always kind of grew up around that.
That's cool. That's really cool. So obviously you had art in your blood there.
Yeah.
I love your wall, by the way. Like,
thanks.
I just wanted to comment on that because I love how you have the black window frames and then like the white brick. That's so sick.
Yeah. I'm lucky. I have a kind of an open loft space right now.
That's sick. Okay, cool. So you started learning finger picking. When did you start? Were you writing songs fairly quickly, or like? I mean, that's an interesting way to go about it. I'm just curious because you said your friends were in a punk band, and that kind of sparked your interest. There isn't too many finger picking punk bands, if any.
Yeah, I didn't really play punk. I guess they're probably more emo like than punk, but I kind of started backwards. I also really loved the blues at the time. I kind of started backwards though with songwriting. I didn't learn anybody else's songs. I just started writing songs, and that's sort of like a blessing and a curse. When you learn other people's structures and how they're writing, how they're moving through progressions, you understand better what they're doing, how they're doing it. And I just kind of jumped in and started trying to write songs. And then I feel like I went, you know, to the beginning and learned other people's songs. So I kind of when I was 17 or so, I just started trying to write songs.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of
Well, I've talked to a lot of artists that do that, because then you're not kind of almost mimicking maybe other people if you start learning like someone else's songs and you're like,
yeah.
I don't know, like subconsciously like taking melodies or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. So, but then sometimes it takes you a little longer to understand the structures of other songs when you know you start with your own. Well, but it's kind of cool, because then
Yeah.
I wasn't following like verse chorus structure. It's just kind of like writing. But yeah, started there.
When did you start showing these songs to people or performing out or?
I think I think I played some gigs in high school. I had a little high school band briefly. Um, but then in college, I started doing the open mic thing, and I started playing some solo shows, sort of singer-songwriter solo shows at local coffee shops and at the college. And then met some really cool guys and had a college band. We started playing venues, and that was in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Oh, you moved to Minneapolis to go to college?
Yeah, I moved to St. Paul for school, and throughout school met these guys, started a band, and played around the Twin Cities. It's a good music scene in the Twin Cities.
Sure. Yeah, huge music scene, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
Prince.
yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's cool. Well, what was like kind of the next, victory as far as your music career went? Like, when did you start, when the ball start really get rolling for you?
Yeah, it's interesting story. So I was kind of on track to try the graduate school route and maybe be a professor. I was studying English. I was really into that, and just kind of like exploring, what it would be like to go on with school, keep going. And then right before I graduated, the week of my graduation, my mother passed away, and at her funeral, she was teaching at a high school in Bloomington, Illinois, and a group of her friends and colleagues presented me with a check that they collected amongst, dozens of them, and said, "Hey, your mom was always talking about your music. She said you were interested in recording. We gathered up a small fund, like, go record your music."
Oh my
So
gosh.
like 3 months later, I'd made a little EP. I don't even think I mastered it. I don't even think I knew what the hell I was doing. I just like recorded it, mixed it. The mixing engineer was like, "You're gonna master this, right?" I was like, "Sure."
What's
So
that?
of course I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was it. There was this little 5-song EP, and then started playing some more with that college band, and then shifted to wanting to write more songs on my own. And I had a friend moving to New York, and so I kind of had an apartment available and moved to New York about 12 years ago.
Wow.
So that was, the recording kind of started with that little EP, and then I made another solo thing back then, and then I've been kind of making stuff ever since.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, obviously your mom was a special lady for them to get together to great, get this money and then wanting to put it towards your project. Like, that's really amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then my dad and my stepmom also chipped in and helped out at that time, so I could go and after recording actually like print a few copies. So it was very supportive. I was very lucky.
That's really nice. So once you get to New York, how hard was it to get into the scene there?
I knew a few people. I moved out here at the same time as a couple of people I knew from Minneapolis. I had been driving around the country on my own, trying to, build my own tours and play small gigs. And New York was always a focus. So I just started driving out there or flying out there before I moved there to try and get into the scene, meet some people, knowing that I was going to move. But I kind of got pulled in right away. It was great. And I mean, I think one of the first gigs I played was this little place called Rockwood Music Hall where I still play. And it was like a Monday at 6 p.m. You know, you're
Sure.
new. So they're like, oh,
The best time slot, right?
yeah. Try Monday at 6 and then we'll see how you do, kid. But yeah, that was sort of like this melting pot and congregation for all these musicians to hang and meet each other. So yeah, I kind of got pulled in right away. But then, New York City, it can also pull you in just to get by day to day. So then you spend a lot of time not doing music unless you're making your full living right away from that. But it was great. I got kind of sucked in, and picked up.
Yeah, I can imagine it'd be very hard to create a life there as far as an artist.
Yeah, it's I was working in restaurants, and I still work in the wine industry. But yeah, it was kind of like, you land in New York and you get pulled into the current right away. You have to actively step out of the current to kind of slow down.
Well, aside from music, you're also an artist, right? You do paintings and you sell stuff online as far as that goes.
Yeah, it's always related to music. It's always involving lyrics or things that are inspired by the songs, imagery or symbols inspired by the song. So I do really love making watercolor paintings, and it's very liberating because I don't take it as seriously for some reason or another. I just, maybe it's the mental thing of, I don't identify as a painter. I identify more as a musician, so it almost feels more free. I just kind of do it without being self-conscious. I'm getting there with with music in that regard too, but there's like a liberty to putting no pressure on yourself, so it's kind of fun. With music, you're always like, you want it to be good and the best and everything, and I just never have felt that way about painting. Just sort of like, I do it and don't think about it.
Sure. Well, your art is amazing. I mean, your music's great, amazing too, but the artwork, I love. You did like is that a wine bottle that you did the artwork on? It's like
Yeah,
a blue with the yellow in it and everything.
yeah.
It's a
I
cool
can't
piece. It's really cool.
I can't take credit for that one. That one was
Oh,
actually the blue and yellow was an Italian artist named Massimo Sorelli in Italy, and I did all of the text around it. Like
oh, really?
I
The
did all the hand.
script.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, that's still amazing.
Yeah, that's a new project of mine. That's a little bottling project that my current gig helped me develop. So it's I now have a little side project of bottling sherry, and that one is named after the first song on the record, Mirador.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they all, I mean, you talked about how it tied in with your music. So tell me about the new record. And well, real quick before that, I mean, you're in New York, which is the thick of all the COVID pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Where were you at when that all happened? Where did that, and how did that affect you, or maybe even this record?
Yeah, it affected all of it. I was living in Bed Stuy in Brooklyn at the time, and had a ground floor apartment living with my fiance at that time. And we were lucky because we both kept our jobs and we could work from home. I couldn't play music for that whole year, but I had been working this part-time gig that luckily went full-time. But it was, I think that if you lived in less densely populated areas, you didn't realize how crazy it was, because I mean, sirens, ambulances, people banging on pots and pans every night for the healthcare employees.
Yeah.
And it was more intense in Manhattan because there was just more traffic and more sirens. And where I was in Brooklyn was calmer, but you felt that going on, and your friends were talking about it. And it's just more people, so you couldn't go and be around people because the dense population. We luckily had a little back patio area. It's kind of an oasis at the time. Yeah, but it was intense. And then, on just performing online shows, I decided to not release my record. It was done. and I had some friends releasing stuff, and I decided to wait and hold on to it, and just wait until the next year. So it was
Right.
also kind of like a building year, you know. I was writing, I was playing the songs from the record, and trying them out, trying to get used to performing them alone. But yeah, it was intense. I hope that your
Yeah.
pandemic was all right too, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was what it was. I was actually, my family and I we just moved to Nashville
Oh, great.
in the beginning of March. But yeah, we're in Southern California. My wife and I are born and raised in San Diego. So us and
Cool.
our kids were there, and then it ended up becoming the best decision to move to here, and so we're here and we love it. But yeah, I mean, it sucked, man. I mean, I've worked in radio for 16 years,
Yeah,
and it was weird. Like in the beginning, we're essential workers, so
right,
we had to go to work, and they like mailed us like a FEMA card. I mean, it was like I thought like it was like going to become a police state. You know what I mean? It was like I
right,
had this card, and the company came down and said, "Hey, if you get pulled over, show them this card." And like that you had a purpose to be outside, and it was really scary. I mean, it
right.
was a big scare around everything, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But being in New York, I can't even imagine that. I mean, you guys were not only is everybody kind of living on top of each other, but the rate of cases there was crazy.
Yeah, the cases are crazy. It's also a place where you're used to seeing a lot of people pretty often,
Mhm.
whether it's the
Oh,
train or walking or at your work, playing gigs. And then to see New York City kind of empty was
sure.
very trippy. It was also, you know, peaceful, but I have the privilege of saying that because I didn't get sick. Um,
Right.
you know, or walking around was very, very eerie. And then there were moments where it felt very beautiful to see the city without the chaos. But of course, that's coming from a place of, you know, not having been sick. So
Right. I mean, it was still like kind of eerie looking at even Times Square when they did the New Year's. I was like, this is bizarre. Like
yeah, it was very
how
bizarre.
there wasn't just 10 million people there going crazy. It was like
Yeah,
open and yeah, little pockets of people. But yeah,
yeah,
what a weird time. So you ended up having the record done, you said, and you kind of kept it for you just held it for a
yeah.
while.
Decided to hang on to it. So yeah, the record was recorded and mixed by the end of 2019, pretty much. Beginning of 2020, final mixes were pretty much done,
Hmm.
and just kind of, you know, decided to wait. And but the nice thing is that during that time I made some music videos. I, you know, kind of prepared for the release. um so it I think it was okay to be patient in that sense. I had
Yeah,
already
yeah.
waited a long time to release it, so it didn't feel too bad to continue.
Keep waiting a little bit. Yeah, and then you
Yeah,
can roll it out a little bit fuller as far as like you said, videos. I'm sure it was everybody had to like really adapt and become very creative in their
yeah,
own regard. Like everyone now it's like, okay, now I've got to be a video editor and a cinematographer and
yeah,
there's so many more hats you have to wear now that everyone was kind of inside at the time.
yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any plans? I mean, I'm sure you have plans to play the record out. I mean, now the stuff's opening up a bit. How do you feel about playing live?
Yeah, I really look forward to it. It felt like it happened overnight that everyone was booking
It kind
shows.
of did. It was like, now we can go outside. Okay. And then it's like, everyone's booking.
All the tours started popping up, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit! Everyone, all right, we're back."
Right.
It was overnight, so I felt a little behind. I'm like, "Did you all know about this?" You know, because your tour route is just already up.
Mhm.
Um, so you know, I'm slowly booking and doing some album release shows. The vinyl will be ready probably like a month or so because it's very behind. It's out
Mhm.
digitally, and you know, I made a few CDs even though no one listens to, you know. But
I love that you did a vinyl. That's rad. That's something I collect and
it's my
always will
first one.
get. That's so cool.
Yeah, my
Uh,
first one, man. I'm very excited, you know. But felt like it was right for this record, like just how it started, how it ended. I wanted to make sure it was on vinyl.
That's so cool. Well, I mean, congratulations on the record, and hopefully you'll be able to play some shows soon. Hopefully you'll come to Nashville. That'd be tight.
I would love
Uh,
I would love to.
And congratulations on the vinyl. That's exciting.
Thank you, man.
I do have one more question for you, Nick, before I let you go. I want to
Yeah.
know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Any advice for aspiring artists? Absolutely. Keep writing. It's a tough choice to be a creator. It's a brave choice. It's a bold choice, in a world that is kind of very full of commodities and commodity driven activity. I think art and creators and young artists, songwriters are choosing to engage in a different kind of expression. We have to live in that. We have to live in this world that is kind of has all these other things, but you're choosing to express yourself, I think, in a very brave way. And I guess I would just say, in those moments where you feel like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? Does this matter? To just keep telling yourself to keep writing. And yes, it does matter, even if it's just for you. Because then the pressure goes away. You put all this pressure on yourself, and I want it to be this, or I want to be validated this way, or this accolade, or this many people at the show. And once you kind of feel like, oh wow, I like this song, I believe in this, I found something because I worked at it and I found the right way, I found the right vibe, then no one can take that away from you. It still hurts like hell if you feel like it's not being received, but you have that faith. So I feel like you get that by just continuing to write and continuing to build. And my last piece of advice, I think, something I learned making this record, is to not don't try and do everything yourself. Ask for help, find a producer if you can't do it, or even if you can do it, it might be fun to have the collaboration. Have someone help you write the song. It's awesome. It can take you to a place that you just never thought you would go. So I would say, think of it as bigger than you, and then more things start to open up, because you just start sharing and share the process even. And I think it makes you more in tune with the bigger picture of creating. Bringing it backward.